They held the most dangerous men and women in America. Murderers, outlaws, the forgotten. These walls absorbed decades of suffering, injustice, and death, and according to those brave enough to enter them after dark, they never let it go. Tonight, we're going inside 7 of the most abandoned and haunted prisons in the United States. Some have been sealed for decades. Others are open for tours, if you dare. All of them have stories that will make you question what lingers when the living finally leave. Prison number 1, Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our first stop sits right in the heart of Philadelphia, a crumbling gothic fortress that once struck terror into the hearts of criminals across the entire country. Eastern State Penitentiary. When it opened in 1829, Eastern State was the most expensive building ever constructed in the United States. It was also, by design, a place of profound psychological torment. Inmates were kept in complete solitary confinement. They wore hoods when transported between cells. They were forbidden to speak. Guards wore wool socks over their boots, so prisoners couldn't even hear them coming. The idea was that silence and isolation would lead to penitence. That's actually where the word penitentiary comes from. Instead, it led to madness. Al Capone was held here. So was bank robber Willie Sutton, who escaped through a tunnel in 1945. But it's not the famous inmates who haunt this place. In cell block 12, visitors and staff have reported shadowy figures darting between cells, cackling voices echoing from empty corridors, a dark hooded form that slides along the walls with no feet touching the ground. In cell block 6, ghostly faces have been seen pulling themselves up through the floors, as if clawing their way back from somewhere below. Eastern State closed in 1971 and was left to decay for over 2 decades. Today, it operates as a historic site, but the locals will tell you you don't need a special occasion for the ghosts to show up. Prison number 2, Ohio State Reformatory, Mansfield, Ohio. If this building looks familiar, it should. The Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield was the filming location for The Shawshank Redemption, one of the most beloved films ever made about life behind bars. But the real history of this place is far darker than any movie. Opened in 1896 with the stated goal of reforming young first-time offenders, the reformatory quickly descended into brutality. Overcrowding, disease, abuse. Over 200 people died within these walls, and the building itself seems to remember every single one of them. The superintendent's wife, Helen Glotke, died here after a gun she kept in her bedroom closet accidentally discharged. Her husband, Arthur, died of a heart attack in his office just 3 years later. Both are said to still wander the building. Paranormal investigators and tourists have reported the smell of rose perfume in the room where Helen died, with no source anywhere nearby. Arthur's apparition has been spotted sitting at his desk in the warden's quarters, still at work, long after closing time. In the cell blocks, shadow figures pass through locked doors. Visitors are touched by unseen hands. Disembodied voices answer questions asked aloud in empty rooms. The reformatory was condemned in 1990 after a federal court ruled that the conditions inside were unconstitutional. It was scheduled for demolition. Community activists fought to save it. Today, thousands of visitors walk these halls every year. Not all of them
Prison number
feel
3,
like they leave alone.
West Virginia State Penitentiary, Moundsville, West Virginia. Some prisons have a dark reputation, and then there's Moundsville. The West Virginia State Penitentiary operated for nearly 120 years, and it became infamous as one of the most violent prisons in American history. In 1986, the conditions inside were so horrific that the United States Supreme Court declared it cruel and unusual punishment simply to be incarcerated there. During its operation, 36 men were executed, 9 by hanging, 27 by electric chair, in a chamber that still stands on the property today. Hundreds more died from violence, disease, and outright neglect. The most feared area was a basement corridor known as the Sugar Shack, a punishment block where inmates were taken and where, according to those who survived it, unspeakable things occurred. Guards rarely intervened. The sounds that came from that corridor became part of the building's permanent atmosphere. Today, paranormal investigators consistently rank Moundsville among the most active haunted locations in the entire country. The apparition of a figure called the Shadow has been seen repeatedly near the North Wagon Gate. In the execution chamber, visitors report sudden, overwhelming feelings of dread and nausea, and audio recordings captured in that room have picked up what sounds unmistakably like sobbing. In the cells of death row, temperatures drop without explanation, objects move, recording equipment malfunctions. The prison now offers overnight paranormal investigations that book out months in advance. Former guards and staff are almost always invited. Almost none of them agree to come. Prison number 4, Alcatraz Island, San Francisco Bay, California. No list of haunted American prisons would be complete without The Rock. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary sits on an island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, just over a mile from shore. The cold water and brutal currents made escape nearly impossible, and made the prisoners inside feel like they had been placed at the very end of the earth. From 1934 to 1963, it held America's most notorious criminals, Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, the Birdman of Alcatraz. 36 men attempted to escape. 5 simply vanished, never recovered, presumed drowned. Presumed. But the hauntings of Alcatraz go back much further than the federal prison. Native American tribes avoided the island for centuries, believing it to be inhabited by evil spirits. They used it as a place of exile, sending those who violated tribal law there as punishment. When the U.S. military took control in the 1800s, soldiers stationed on the island reported strange sounds in the night almost immediately. The most consistently haunted area is D Block, the isolation unit prisoners called the Hole. Cell 14D in particular is famous for an unexplained, intense cold that persists even on warm summer afternoons. During the prison's operation, a guard once reported hearing desperate screaming from inside a sealed isolation cell. When they opened the door, the cell was empty. The screaming stopped. The following morning, the inmate assigned to that cell was found dead. His face was frozen in an expression of pure terror. No cause was ever conclusively determined. Since Alcatraz opened to the public, park rangers have reported hearing big band music drifting through empty corridors, the kind that played on the radio in the warden's home. Al Capone spent years playing banjo in a prison band. Some visitors say they can still hear him in the shower block, long after the last tour has ended. Alcatraz, the cage that never fully emptied.
Prison number 5, Joliet Correctional Center, Joliet, Illinois. You might recognize this one from the opening scene of the Blues Brothers, or from the television series Prison Break. But the real Joliet Correctional Center has a story that no Hollywood production has ever fully captured. Built by the prisoners themselves using locally quarried limestone in the 1850s, Joliet once held over 2,000 inmates inside a facility designed for 600. The overcrowding was catastrophic, and the consequences were deadly. In 1931, a fire broke out in the cell house. prisoners burned alive in their locked cells, unable to escape while guards scrambled outside. The screaming, witnesses said, could be heard for blocks in every direction. After Joliet closed in 2002, the building fell silent, but not completely. Urban explorers and authorized investigators have reported full-body apparitions walking the yard at night, the smell of smoke drifting through corridors nowhere near where the fire occurred, voices that call out names, doors swinging open in cell blocks that have been sealed for years. And the most consistent report, the one that comes up again and again from unconnected witnesses who have never spoken to one another, the sound of men counting off, as if a prison roll call is still being conducted somewhere deep inside the building, numbers being called in the dark with no one there to answer them. Joliet is currently being developed into a museum and entertainment complex. Construction workers on the project have reportedly refused to work in the building alone after dark. The contractor brought in extra lighting for the overnight crew. It didn't help. Prison number 6, Territorial Prison at Yuma, Arizona. In the American Southwest, the sun is its own kind of punishment. The Yuma Territorial Prison, a place so brutal that the inmates themselves called it Hell Hole, opened in 1876 along the banks of the Colorado River in Arizona. It housed 3,069 prisoners over its 33 years of operation, including 29 women. For its era, it was considered a modern facility. It had a library, electricity, a hospital. None of that helped the inmates thrown into the dark cell, a punishment chamber carved directly into solid granite beneath the main building. No light, no sound, no ventilation, scorpions sharing the space. Outside temperatures regularly exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit, making the underground chamber feel like a sealed oven. Over 100 inmates died at Yuma. 26 were shot attempting to escape. Many others simply broke under the conditions and never recovered. Today, the site is an Arizona State Historic Park and one of the most reliably haunted locations in the desert Southwest. The ghost of a prisoner named John Ryan, who died in the prison hospital in 1903, has been seen so frequently and so consistently that the staff have given him a name. He appears in period clothing on the grounds and vanishes the moment anyone moves toward him. In the dark cell, visitors report sudden panic attacks with no prior history of them, the sensation of invisible hands pressing down on their shoulders, an inability to draw a full breath. Several people each season have to be helped out of the chamber before their tour is finished. In the gift shop, inside the converted prison building, items fall from shelves with no one near them. The register has opened itself on multiple occasions, and footsteps pace in the room directly above the shop, a room that every employee on shift will confirm is always empty.
Prison number 7, Missouri State Penitentiary, Jefferson City, Missouri. Our final stop is a place that Time magazine once called the bloodiest 47 acres in America. The Missouri State Penitentiary is the oldest prison west of the Mississippi River. It operated continuously for 168 years. In that time, it witnessed riots, mass executions, rampant violence between inmates and guards, and conditions so genuinely inhumane that a riot in 1954 resulted in the complete destruction of 4 prison buildings. 39 men were executed in the gas chamber that still stands on the grounds today. Visitors who step inside it consistently report the unmistakable smell of almonds, the chemical signature of cyanide, even though the chamber has not been used in over half a century. There is no almond-scented product anywhere in the building. There is no explanation on record. The most haunted area is Housing Unit 5, where the most dangerous inmates were segregated from the general population. A woman in white has been reported walking the upper tier of the unit, moving slowly past the cells before stepping through a solid wall and disappearing.
Audio investigators have recorded a male voice in that unit whispering with startling clarity, "Get out." In A Hall, one of the longest cell blocks ever constructed in the United States, motion sensors installed by the security team trigger on a regular basis when the building is completely sealed and empty. Security footage from inside the hall has captured what appears to be a dark figure moving between cells at ground level. The footage has been reviewed multiple times. No explanation has been offered. Missouri State Penitentiary now offers public tours and overnight paranormal investigations that sell out months in advance. Thousands of people come every year hoping to encounter something they can't explain. But the most chilling account doesn't come from a ghost hunter or a YouTuber or a paranormal investigator. It comes from a corrections officer who worked at the penitentiary for 22 years. On his final night before retirement, he walked the full length of A Hall one last time. A ritual, a goodbye to the place that had consumed more than 2 decades of his life. When he reached the far end and turned around to walk back, every single cell door on both tiers was standing open. He had not opened them. He was alone. The doors had been closed when he started walking. He left the building immediately. He has not returned since. 7 prisons, thousands of souls, decades of suffering carved permanently into stone and steel and iron. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there is something undeniable about these places. They carry weight, the weight of what was done inside them, the weight of the people who lived and suffered and died there with no one paying any attention. Maybe that's why, according to so many people who walk these corridors, something remains, because someone is finally listening. If you visited any of these locations and experienced something you couldn't explain, leave it in the comments below. And if you want to see more explorations like this one, subscribe, because we're just getting started. Stay curious, stay safe, and maybe sleep with the lights on tonight.